This is a video that you probably thought was coming if you saw my question that I put on my community page here a while back. I asked if people thought that living in the country or the city was more expensive. And I had a lot of people say that the city was more expensive, but I also had a fair amount say the country was more expensive. We're going to talk about that today, and we're going to talk about my experience and my actual numbers since I have gone from living in the country an hour from the city to wintering in my RV in the city. So let's get started. So, like a lot of people, I also thought living in the city would be more expensive. Now, there has always been like the city country kind of rivalry of the city people thinking the country people aren't that smart, and the country people thinking the city people aren't that self sufficient. And there's always been that inner rivalry. But being a country person, I honestly thought living in the city cost more. And the reasons I guess I thought that was because I felt like the temptation was stronger. You could do anything you wanted. You could eat out. You could go to the zoo. You could buy things when you felt like it because the stores were right down the street. Not to mention, you had to pay for water, you had to pay for sewer, you had to pay for trash. All these things that I thought would make the city cost more. Now, remember, I'm in an RV, so that's the only experience that I can speak about on this video, but I'm going to compare the costs of what I had in the country versus what I'm paying in the city. There were people that thought living in the country cost more. So the people that thought living in the city cost more related it to higher rent, higher taxes, and paying the trash, water, and sewer. The people that thought the country cost more related it to having bigger houses that were less modern, harder to heat and cool, having car gas that cost more to get from point A to point B. And there were a number of people that thought the taxes in the country were higher, and they do charge if you have a garage, a shed, a barn, anything like that on your property, which was true for me. We have a little one-room cabin that doesn't have any electricity or any utilities. And once we had that hauled in, my taxes jumped like I had a second house on the property. And I had to go in and argue with the county appraiser office and tell them I had no utilities. So they dropped it from being a house to being another outbuilding. But that can be true. If you make any changes like that out there, they will jump your prices, probably just like the city. There is more yard work that people said would take in the country. However, I can tell you that in the country, if you don't mow your grass for a month, nothing's going to happen. You don't mow your grass in the city for a month, you're going to get a fine. So that is one advantage to living in the country. You get to it when you get to it. Another response for why the country was more expensive is the distance to go for medical care, which is true. Our nearest county hospital is 20 miles, and the city hospital, again, is more like an hour, hour and 15 minutes by the time you get to the city and then get in to the hospitals. There is one on the edge of town that maybe would be an hour, but unless you're going to one of the county hospitals, it definitely would be farther. Now, I'm going to compare what I actually pay here in my RV at the 55 and over community park, and I'm going to compare it to what I pay at home. So for home, I don't pay for trash. We recycle and we burn whatever is not recyclable. And then in the city, I don't pay for any trash here either. It's included in my lot rent. At home, we don't pay for water. We do have to have electricity to pump the water, and we do have to haul in empty jugs to the city to refill drinking water because our water tastes funny. And so we do have to do that. It's about 29 cents a gallon to refill it in town. And we probably go through 8 or 12 um, gallons of water every 2 to 3 weeks. And then here in the city, it costs me nothing for water. In fact, I brought my empty jugs with me. They have a reverse osmosis center. I can fill up my water for free. So I'm not even paying the 29 cents a gallon here. So that is even cheaper. The internet at home was $61.95 a month. The internet here in the city is $34.95. So there's a big savings there. And you might think the internet is quicker in the city. Actually, I have like 100 meg, I think is what they call it, here in the city. And at home, I have 15. But if you would believe it, at home, my internet is just as fast as here. And this internet here in the city kicks me off like multiple times a day, multiple times a day. So in the country, it's really comparable to the speed that I'm seeing here in the city. It's just really not, not a game changer. Car gas in the country, I was budgeting about $50 a month because, like I said in other videos, every time I left my yard, it was $10 in gas to get anywhere. Here, I'm budgeting about $25 a month, which is a full tank of gas. I put gas in the middle of January and filled up. I still have half a tank. And so I don't even know if I need the full $25 a month. It may be more like $25 every 6 weeks. So I have saved money there as well. My electric bill here in the city runs between $35 and $54 a month, and that is whether or not I have to run like my heat when it gets really cold at night, or if I can just tough it out with the electric throw. And at home, it's been running about $65 a month. So again, that's a little cheaper here. And you may think that that is less space to heat and cool here, but I'm living the same as I did at home. I'm not running the heat unless it gets super cold. I haven't ran the air at all, even though it got to 89 just a couple of days ago. And at home, we don't run the heat or air unless we need to there as well. And we close off rooms there that we're not using. So there's very few rooms that we do heat or cool. And then we only heat or cool the ones that we're in. And then rent here is $366.67 a month for 6 months. If I divide that among 12 months to budget to save to come back, that would be $183.33 a month to save to come back the next year. So $184 to save for a month, that's not bad at all. Now at home, I don't have any rent, I don't have any mortgage, and so that doesn't cost me anything there. And then some people said you can have the opportunity to grow more food at home than you would in the city. And that is true. I do have a lot of above ground planters that I can use. I have too many roots in my yard to actually be able to plant a garden there, and I have too much shade from those trees. So I use a lot of above ground planters, and I do grow more things there. But I brought my celery, my onions, I have some lettuce growing outside, so I'm still growing things in pots even in the city. So even if you're in the city, I feel like there's still opportunity to grow some of those vegetables in your pots. Now, of course, there's lots of options in the city to spend money, but there's different options here to do that do not spend money as well. And I've been finding some of those, and I've been trying to share some of them with you. Now, next, I'm going to show you some Texas foliage that I thought was absolutely beautiful. There is a little bird sanctuary in one of the RV parks next door that's free to walk through. And I videoed some of that to share with you, and it was totally free. So I hope you enjoy this next clip. So my conclusion on whether or not the city or the country is more expensive is basically things can be as little or as much as you want to spend, no matter where you live. For instance, I went to the store the other day here, and they had a little 4-ounce container of overnight oats with berries on top, and they wanted $3.50 for that. Think how much $3.50 would make in servings if you just bought the oats and bought some berries and made your own. So always there are options for conveniences that are going to cost more, but it's up to us to spend our money wisely and make the determination on what conveniences are really worth it to us in our day-to-day life to spend that extra money. Things can be as much or as little as you want to spend, no matter where you live, city or country. So I really feel like purchases are key. How many times you run to the store is key, whether you live in the city or in the country. That opportunity to run there more often in the city is definitely there, but I have to be really careful about that because I don't want to get in the habit of when I get home forgetting how to plan so that I only need to go every week or two because of the gas money and the time that it takes to get there and get back. So I'm trying not to fall into that easy ability to be able to run and buy a thing or two here and there. And I have to remind myself that it's okay if I don't do things. It's okay to just be. And I do a lot of that at home. I find things to do that don't cost money. And I don't necessarily do things. Sometimes I just be. And I realize that we get so used to staying busy and always feeling like we have to have something to do to feel worthy or to feel like we're productive. But sometimes it's okay just to not do anything for a little while. And not doing anything and relaxing is absolutely free. And then, no matter where you live, it is important to track those expenses to see if you are staying within your means. The other day, I read something where somebody was saying that we stay in budget with what we make. But staying in budget with what you make means that you're spending to the top of what you make. We have to spend below what we make to have extra money. And I'm finding that I am spending less. My money is going slower now that I'm in the city. I don't eat as much meat as my husband does, so I'm not purchasing those things. And I'm able to make my food stretch, and I'm able to do things that are free, and I'm just not spending that much money. The few things that I told you is basically all that's being spent, in addition to $122 of food a month, and I still have plenty. So that is my conclusion on the differences. If you live in an apartment, if you have a family, if you have a home, all of those amounts are going to change. Granted, you can usually rent a house in the country for less than you can rent a bigger apartment in the city, but you will have that gas money getting back and forth. I hope that you've enjoyed this video, and I thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.